Hello there. As you know, I'm Black Bright News. I'm going to be talking pretty quickly. As you know, I work for the health service when I'm not doing 101 other things. And so the headlines that you can go to prison or lose your job if you breach patient confidentiality, i.e. nose in patient records, caught my attention. So I thought I would share it. You know, not only will it give patients peace of mind, but it will also alert any staff, although they probably know, how serious it is if you just enter somebody's records just to be nosy. So the headlines was staff could face the sack or even time in prison if they access patient records without a legitimate reason. Sir Jim Mackey has warned. I came across this snippet in the Health Service Journal, and because I work for the Health Service, it was of particular interest. Sir Jim Mackey and NHS England are taking a much stronger stance on patient confidentiality and data security than we have seen in previous years. The NHS holds some of the most sensitive information that exists about people, medical conditions, mental health records, sexual health, family history, addresses, medication, and much more. Staff are only allowed to access a patient's record if they have a genuine work-related reason for doing so. Curiosity is not a genuine reason. So what counts as without legitimate reason? Examples include looking up the records of a neighbour, reading the notes of a celebrity admitted into hospital, accessing the file of an ex-partner or a family member, looking at your own medical records, using your staff login. I thought that was a strange one. Browsing patient records simply because you have access to the system. Even if the information is never shared with anyone else, merely accessing it without authorization can be a serious breach. So why is Sir Jim Mackey saying this now? Firstly, NHS England is placing much greater emphasis on information governance and cybersecurity. Recent cyber attacks have highlighted how valuable healthcare data is and how important it is that everyone treats patient information appropriately. Secondly, almost every access to an electronic patient record is now logged automatically. Modern NHS systems record who has accessed the record, when they accessed it, which parts of the record they viewed, how long they remained in the record. I actually think this is one of the reasons patients generally have confidence in the NHS. They can expect that their most personal information is treated on a strict need-to-know basis, not on a nice-to-know basis. That distinction is fundamental to maintaining public trust. This means inappropriate access is much easier to detect than it was years ago, and someone could lose their job because of it. Gross misconduct can include deliberately accessing confidential patient information without a valid business need. Many NHS trusts already dismiss staff for this type of misconduct because it destroys patient trust and breaches professional standards. The sanction would depend on whether it was accidental or deliberate, whether it happened once or repeatedly, whether information was shared with others, the seriousness of the breach. Could somebody really go to prison? Potentially, yes. But this is likely to be reserved for the most serious cases. Prison is not the normal consequence of someone clicking into the wrong patient record. However, criminal offences can rise where there is deliberate or unlawful misuse of personal data. Depending on the circumstances, prosecutions may be brought under legislation such as the UK data protection laws or other criminal offences relating to the misuse of confidential information. The courts would generally expect particularly serious intentional or harmful conduct before imposing a custodial sentence. So Jim's reference to prison is essentially saying this isn't just a disciplinary issue. In the worst cases, this can become a criminal matter. So why is this important? Well, the NHS depends on public trust. Patients tell clinicians deeply personal things because they believe their information will remain confidential. If people fear that staff might look at their records out of curiosity, they may become less willing to disclose important information, which can ultimately affect patient care. So, this warning is about protecting that trust as much as it is protecting data. So Jim is not simply reminding staff of the rules, he is announcing the strongest possible consequences: dismissal and prison. That suggests NHS England wants to send a clear message that unauthorised access to patient records is no longer being viewed as a minor lapse in professionalism, but as behaviour that can fundamentally undermine the integrity of the health service. You may ask, surely staff can look at their own records? No, we cannot. The reason is that staff accounts are provided solely for carrying out work duties. It is not intended to be a convenient way for us to view our own health information. Plus, legally and ethically, while we are not breaching our own confidentiality, we would be misusing the access rights that our employer has entrusted to us. There are several reasons for this. Audit and accountability. Every access is logged. If we open our own record using our work credentials, the audit trail shows we accessed a patient record without a work-related reason. Professional boundaries. NHS organisations want staff to follow the same routes as any other patient when accessing their medical information. And data integrity. In some systems, staff have permissions that go beyond simply viewing information. Restricting self-access reduces the risk of accidental changes or inappropriate use of privileged access. If staff want to view their records, the correct routes are usually using the NHS app, requesting access from your GP practice, making a subject access request, what they call a SAR, if you need a copy of your records. Having permission to access a system does not mean we are authorised to view every record within it. In information governance, there's an important distinction between access, what the system technically allows you to do, and authority, what you are permitted to do under your role and the law. So although we have the technical ability to open thousands of patients' records, our authority extends only to those we need for our work. Most of us instinctively think about ownership. Is my data? Whereas organisation thinks about governance. How was the data accessed? Both perspectives are valid, but they answer different questions. Fortunately, many NHS staff spend all day looking at patient records and have very little desire to spend their free time reading their own records. So I thought it was reassuring, really, that you cannot access staff records. And I've opened a staff record that was a wrong staff record, and it is a big rigmarole. I had to datex, and this was just because I'd inadvertently put it on the wrong record. So I had to datex it. It goes to the, what do you call it? It's clinical governance, but it's the, I can't think of the name now. But yeah, really, it begins with a C, but I can't think of it. But it's really, really high up. So even when you make a mistake, it's a serious breach. You have to complete a datex. You have to do all sorts. You just cannot go into a staff's record without justification. And if you do go in a record, you have to write the reason that you're going in it. So you can't just willy-nilly go into staff records. So lots of people think, oh, you work for the NHS, or I bet they're going through my records, or I bet they're doing this, or I bet they can tell this. No, we can't. We can't. They are really, really strict. And as you see, some people, they could end up in prison if they're found repeatedly doing it, and they could definitely lose their jobs, even if they do it once or twice, if it's not a mistake, if it is seen as deliberate. So I just thought I'd share that piece of news with you. And I think I'm going to stop it there. Have a wonderful evening, and that's all for now. I've still got my cold, you can tell, can't you? It's all bunged up in my nose. But